Okay. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this first meeting of the cycle of webinar on Anchor Life project. This is a project of the program LIFE, funded by the European Commission on environmental noise. Anchor Life deals with the noise pollution due to ports. In fact, the partnership in the partnership there are three port authorities taking part to the project. The partnership is composed by ISPRA, the National Institute for Environmental Protection and Research, the CIRIAF, an institute from Perugia, Italy, on noise and electromagnetic pollution, Ingenia SRL, that is a ex-spin-off of University of Genoa, Port Authority of Livorno, Italy, and Puerto de Melilla, Port Authority of Melilla, and Port Authority of Municipality of Patras. Melilla is in Spain, Patras is Greece. This is a brief presentation. I'm Giuseppe Marsico from ISPRA. I'm the project manager of the project. I'm going to introduce the project, the main objectives of the project, and the replication of the project itself, and what are you going to present today about the work we have, the work of the project. What are the overall objectives of Anchor Life? Anchor Life aims at communicating and disseminating the research outcomes on noise pollution generated by the urban ports. Anchor Life is going to raising awareness, the awareness of decision makers at a different level, the port authorities, public administration, private sector operators working in port area, academians, citizens living in the port cities, etc. So we are going to engage the stakeholders by means of mobilization, replication across Europe. Which are the main outcomes we are going to achieve with this project? We are going to develop an incentive scheme for private sector operating in the ports of Livorno, Piombino, and Portoferraio, Italy. They are called the figures of merit, and they are already implemented for other pollutants such as air pollution. But due to COVID-19, we are going to remodulate this objective, these outcomes, and Dr. Di Meglio will tell you how we are going to do. We are going to design and installing a Smartport noise monitoring system in the port of Patras, and we are developing an updated port noise impact assessment guidelines to define a common approach in port noise monitoring and assessment. We are going to to take into account the new algorithm, the new outcomes deriving from the new algorithms defined by the European Directive 2015-996, the Knossos algorithm. This activity will be carried out, is carrying out in the port of Melilla. We are also some replication objectives. We are engaging the stakeholders to involve them in the performing of consistent environmental assessment and action planning in according to the END directive on noise pollution. We are disseminating the replication governance tools for port noise management. We are also transferring the knowledge we are achieving to an anchor followers platform, a growing group of port management related stakeholders. We have an audience with the cycle of webinars we are going to do because of COVID, because we are it's impossible now to do this meeting in presence. So we have a target audience. In this target audience, there are port authorities, municipalities, and there's association of private sector operators, chamber of commerce, regional environmental protection agency, also non-European local governments. We have also a long-term audience, the competent authorities and their affiliated entities in EU member states. So we have three entities that are our target in this project. The municipality that make action planning and action noise mapping and action plans, the port authorities that are the focus of this project, and the private sector operators. They undergo under specific regulations such as the national and regional environmental noise regulatory framework for the municipality, the port governance regulatory framework for port authorities, and the maritime sector and market ecosystem from the private sector operators. So we have two levels of dissemination in this cycle of webinars. A primary level for each of the main activities we are carrying out: the figures of merit, the Smartport noise monitoring system, and the guidelines. The first level is focused on the company employees, the consultants, the specific figures that work on this matter. And the secondary level is organizational. So we are focused on the organizational level that needs an adaptation to change and achieve their strategic objectives. So we are going to do a cycle of webinars. The first one is only an introduction of the project and the main outcomes we achieved at the present. Then we are going to do the other intermediate meeting already envisaged by the project, but we are going to do this intermediate meeting by webinar, and other thematical webinar on figures of merit, on port noise guidelines, and on the Smartport noise monitoring system. We are involving also the orders of engineers, Italian order of engineers, to grant credits for the participants. I finished this brief introduction of the project, and I think we could go on with the program of the meeting. The first one is, I think, if I don't remember bad, is should be Giorgio Bardinelli and Samuele Schiavoni from CIRIAF that will talk about their noise mapping action activity on Melilla port.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Just a brief for my side. Can you hear me? Yeah. I'm from CIRIAF, the Inter-University Research Center on Physics Agents and Pollution. And right now we have been involved in the project essentially on the development of sorry of the design of a smart port noise monitoring system, which will be installed in Patasport. And in the second milestone, which is the noise mapping of the extension of the Melilla port. These two issues, even if they are focused on a special port, which is Patras in Melilla, are executed with the idea of repeating and to be repeatable in all ports, and to give such something like a guideline for doing smart noise monitoring systems and noise mapping in all other ports of Europe. The design of the smart noise monitoring port noise monitoring system is quite finished, so we are just to see how it can be installed and managed. While as far as the noise mapping of the Melilla port extension, we are on the job, and I want to give word now to my colleague Samuele, which is explaining now the most recent advance on these issues. So please, Samuele, you can go on.
Okay, good morning to everybody. I'm in charge for the realization of the new noise mapping activities within the Anchor Life project. I'm performing this activity together with Jaime Bustillo of the Autorità Portuale of Melilla, that is helping me on find data on define what would be the future layout of the Melilla port. At the moment we are encountering some problems due to the COVID pandemic, since a lot of events that may help us on foster the activities will simply lost, because we are not able to. For instance, I wasn't able to visit the city, and the project of the expansion has been, I think, not stopped, but have some. The process has been a little bit stopped, interrupted to the pandemic. I think that next week I will be finally able to fly to Melilla to perform some measurement that will allow us to characterize the noise, the noise emitted by the ship of that works on Melilla. I think that for the moment, the only thing that I can do is to show you what we have already done in the deliverable, because even if we are not able to define what will be the future port layout of the port of Melilla, we spend a lot of time to find out about what will be the emission of the single device that will be used in the port. Well, now I will share my screen, and in particular two elements. Okay, I think that by now you should see the deliverable, and this is the new deliverable on port of Melilla port expansion. After a brief summary of what is the goal of the project, the goal of the deliverable. Okay, and now there is a paragraph where I describe how the noise simulation for noise mapping should be performed. And this indication were derived from the outcome of several projects, such as the Nomepors one and the Nadia. Okay, I define, for instance, that it should be performed grid and facade noise map, and I listed how the parameter to perform this simulation should be taken into account. Well, let's move now to the most important part of the deliverable, where I perform a sort of review of all the noise emission data of all the devices that are in the port. I take into account several research projects, such as the report, the efforts, some Interreg, Neptune project, and the FP7 Salembu, and also several research papers that have been published in a peer review, in peer review. Okay. First of all, I found a list of devices that are commonly present in that are commonly used in the port. The first one is the transtrainer one, and for the transtrainer one, I listed the sound power, not pressure, the sound power spectra of several kind of transtrainer, considering also the different activities. So when I will receive the final layout of the Melilla port expansion, I will be able to characterize immediately what will be the emission of this kind of source. Then I perform the same activity for the rich staker, and for the rich staker, I use the outcome, for instance, of the report project. So also for this kind of device, I have the sound power spectra in 1/3 octave. Okay, for the I perform the same for the straddle carrier. I use the effort project and also other papers. For instance, the work of John Witt of the 2008. We may see how this the sound power level varies with the spectra and varies with the activity that is performed. One of the most important and difficult activities to be characterized is the activity of the gantry cranes, and I found a sound power spectra taking into account also the activity that is performed inside. You may see in this graph, for instance, in blue there is the single event of the container handling, where the red one is a sort of average of the whole ship unloading and loading operation. I try to avoid I will try to avoid to use the single data. I will try always in the noise mapping project. I will try to use the spectra, because they will be more useful and more the outcome will be more affordable. Concerning the refer, this is one of the, I think, the noise sources where I found the most important amount of data. But there is also reason about it, is because it's very easy to characterize from a noise point of view the emission of a refer, because it's a small object, a relatively small object. So it's very easy to perform noise measurement on it. I found a very lot of data. I listed all of them in this in the deliverable, and so on. Well, now for concerning moored ships, this is probably the most difficult task to be performed, because every ship has its own noise emission. It's very difficult to find two ships that will have the same emission when the ship are at berth. So we will try some simplification. For instance, we will perform. I think that we will follow the indication of the Neptune project to divide the ships in 6 different categories, and to consider that their emission will be performed by these devices. For instance, the most important one is probably the funnel outlets, but also all the ventilation in and inlet outlet have to be taken into account, because their impact is can be very important. Of course, we have to also to consider that there are some kind of moored ships that have a particular device that emit noise. For instance, the air conditioning, in particular for cruise ships and the RoPax. So all the ships that contain a lot of passengers. Well, concerning these the moored ships, we have some problem, because at the moment I have data to characterize each one of the 6 categories of the ships that I found, that I define, but I prefer to perform some measurement in the port of Melilla to better understand what will be the emission of not of each ship that is moored on the port of Melilla, of course, but at least to define a cruise, for instance, a Ro-Ro and Ro-Ro-Pax ships that is moored at the berth of Melilla. Well, I found how the noise measurement will be performed. I will follow the indication that I found in ISPRA, in a paper published by ISPRA. And I will want to show you this data. Just a moment. Okay, there is another chapter dedicated to it. Here it is. I will use the method, okay, that is reported on the SilentView project, and this is already be tested by a work of ISPRA. I have to say thanks to Giuseppe Marsico to share for the sharing of his doctorate thesis that allow me to acquire a lot of data about the some pressure level measured in several points of different typology of moored ships. Well, I have to come back a little bit on other devices that can cause noise in port, and there are, for instance, the ramps that allow the load and unload of vehicles inside the Ro-Ro and the RoPax ships. Okay, and then finally the forklifts. I also reported the noise emission of seagoing ships, but I think that for the moment they will be not taken into account, because their impact is not so relevant in comparison to the other one. Well, I already talked to you about this, so about how to characterize about how to use the noise measurement performed in port areas to characterize the moored ship. I want now to show you what we are doing in cooperation with the Port of Melilla. This is a recent document that I received for Jaime Bustillo, and he is reporting to me, for instance, this is the TCM, is the terminal container of the Port of Melilla. These are what are the forecasts for the activity performed in the future Port of Melilla in the next 10, 20, and 30 years, if the expansion project will be performed and not. So we perform several noise simulation to understand what will be the emission of the port in all these conditions. And moreover, finally, I have to consider that I will take into account also the work of the port in a standard condition, and also the port working in a peak condition. And in conclusion, I want to show that I may send me also an image that allows us to better understand what will be the kind of device that will be causing an impact in the future port. Hi, Giuseppe.
Thank you, Samuele. If you agree, I would continue the webinar with Jaime Bustillo from Port Authority of Melilla. Please.
Hello, good morning.
Hi, Jaime.
Hi. Shall I continue the conversation?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So I expect you can see soon. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Well, following the explanations that Samuele has given to you, and also remarking the very fantastic cooperation we have been producing during the project, I will explain another complementary information about what Samuele has said, because this is a common work, and all the things we are doing is in together. Just a few words to explain that Melilla is here in the north of Africa. I don't know if you see do you see the pointer? Okay, he's here in the north of Africa, and in the north coast of the African continent, but it's a Spanish port. It belongs to the network of the ports of Spain, and yeah, we are here in the project for helping to develop the Action B3, which is to help to create a guide for good practice of the management, definition of the noise impact assessment, and developing together with the technical guidance of in this case Giuseppe and George Baldinelli, also Giuseppe Marsico, Samuele, and try to deliver this method. This is, well, the technical part. I think that the thing I should explain is what important is for the port planners to understand how noise works, how the engineering of noise is really giving feedback to the port planners, and this interaction in between the two kind of engineers is being the most exciting part of the port. Then the phases is to realize, to produce a noise map using these last algorithms, and then we put together this information and mixed in the port planification phase, because during the port planification we need to balance the technical results of the design we are making, but also the economical results of the planning we are making. And with this method, we can include the noise considerations in this planification project, which is really amazing for us, because we know as port managers the difficult results of the noise, but we find a new tool to deal with it before the problem is coming up. So I will go to the thing. This is the first job we made, who was to define in the current port the situation. These are our main noise sources, and this is the result of these noise sources. then making this job, we understand how it works, what information the sound engineers need, and how is the process of producing a noise map. And of course, this mapping that Samuele and Giorgio made connects perfect with the problems we suffer. So the model really replicate perfectly what the reality is producing here in Melilla. It's true, and I need to advise it that because of the COVID, the port activity in Melilla has reduced to a minimum. And today, of course, we have a very silent port, which is not the normal situation, but we have a clear idea of what the noise was in the port 1 year ago. So I want to show here that this is the methodology that we have in Spain for evaluating the port investment. I think that you as Italian readers mainly can more or less understand what is here. And this is a key point, because here we connect the economics of port planning with noise mapping. We have a physical activity here with many economic activities inside, and we had to understand really what is the economic impact we are going to produce with this physical and economical activity, and also the noise we produce. And having the knowledge we have because of the project that economic noise has an economic impact in the city we have nearby, then we can mix that info and take decisions in consideration. How we make it? This is a plan of the port in which we have, of course, a layout. What that means that can be translated in a budget of works. And we also include we define the activities we are going to make inside the port. This is the plan. A container import-export terminal, which is this area, fuel tanks, a thermal power plant, which is not here, it's in the other slide. Multi-purpose terminal, bulk terminal here, passenger terminal, very, very noisy during summer, and the projected cruise terminal in the port. So, and the other part, as if you remember the map I showed you before, we have the OPA parking. We have in this area a waste incineration plant and an industrial estate. We will talk about this after. Also, the hub terminal for containers, and there the terminal plant, of course, here, the new terminal plant for the city. So imagine that during the noise map producing, the result of the activity connected with the cruise terminal, not only the ship itself, but also the activity of buses, people coming, that noise. Imagine I have make only a circle. I don't have any idea. This is a technical question. We find this high level of noise. This is something that it's very difficult for us to suppose without this tool. What can we do is to suppose to plan an alternative location for the cruise terminal. As you see here, has disappeared. Also the activity inland, and we define it in this part of the port. So the same area now, it doesn't mean an impact in the population. So we can here make a decision in between which is better for the project, having that impact in the city and making maybe that people of the city doesn't like to have the cruise activity. The extra cost of having it in the upper port, and you need to move more movements inside. Okay, we can make economic calculation of this movement and putting together, and then decide previously to the problem to make it. Is when you have the terminal built and the protest of the people begin, is almost impossible to take a decision. This is why this is management. This is another option that comes up really last week talking with Samuele. This is the industrial area we have defined. And when we need to enter in the details of what kind of a specific activity we are going to have inside, and in connection with that, what level of noise we are going to emit in this situation, I remember you that this is an not defined industrial area and also a incineration plant with a technology that it is not defined. So what we can do here is just the reverse calculation. It's a suggestion of Samuele. And from our planning point of view, it's extremely useful for us, because then we can understand, depending on the noise emitting that we define here, which is the area it should impact. And then we can define thresholds of impact in connection with the activity we define for this area. So for us, maybe we don't know which kind of activity come into, but we know when we receive proposals to go there, we know what kind of conditions we can put them if we don't want to enter in the risk area of noise. So it is not a question that is less important. It's very, very important for us, because then we can define we can send to the market a good idea of what we are going to accept and what not, and let the economy take decisions in connection with that. Well, this is the inner part of the other part of the port planification. This is how in Spain calculate the connection in between the traffics we expect to noise, which is we need to, as we understand how noise mapping is being made, because we participate in the production of the information for the noise mapping of the actual port, of the nowadays port, then we made this for our previsions. This is a technical calculation of port planning about trying to translate number of year tones in hours of specific machine working, which is relevant for the noise. And following that, we go to the map that Samuele has shown you in detail, which is we are able to define which is the machines that are going to work, how many times, how many hours along the month in the future. And well, in 2 words, sound and vibration modeling and port planning also works, and management, because we define how the plant is made, and also what activities are made inside, have a very productive potential if there is a good interconnection. We can save a lot of money. We can produce a lot of economy savings using this in advance, and understanding how the sounds evolves and how the sounds has an impact in the economy in our surroundings. And this is the economic impact of noise and reduction measures based on mitigation and of management can be integrated into Portworx evaluation system, which is something we will try to produce during the project, which is that include this chapter in the methodology that the ports in Spain has for evaluating port investment. And that's all from my side.
Thank you very much, Jaime. Thank you very much for this interesting presentation about technical and financial, economic issues of the activities we are going to do in Melilla port. By the way, I remember the audience that you can follow the news of the project on the website anchorlife.eu and on the social networks, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I would go on with the webinar introducing Riccardo Di Meglio from Livorno Port Authority that will talk about the figures of merit and in particular about what we were going to do before the pandemic and how we are going to continue with how we are remodulating the activities, taking into account what is happening now in this period. And I think he could briefly talk about the networking activity we are doing with the Triplo project, the Triplo Interreg project. Please.
So thank you, Giuseppe. So good morning, everybody. I'm Riccardo Di Meio from the Northern Tyrrhenian Sea Port Authority System, which is actually the port authority in charge of planning and developing the seaports in the Tyrrhenian coast, in the Tuscan coast, notably Livorno, Piombino, ports on Elba Island, so Portoferraio, Aviorio Marina, and the port on Capraia Island. Within the framework of the Life Anchor project, we are in charge of developing the figure of merits as mentioned by Giuseppe Marsico before. So activity B1. Figures of merit, as the name itself suggests, are incentives, awards for port operators if they are tackling noise emissions. So if they are performing port activities so that the noise emissions, noise levels are made lower than before, than previous levels attained. Unfortunately, during 2020, as everyone knows, the epidemic of COVID-19 spreads out all over Europe and all over the world. So this outbreak of the pandemic has, of course, a severe effect on our port. So I'm sharing now my screen and my presentation. This downturn on port traffic, of course, has obliged us to have a revision of our activities in many European projects, including Life Anchor project. In this slide, you can see the severe recession downturn we had here in Livorno. For instance, containerized cargo has lost some 10% of total traffic during the first 9 months in 2020. And so other traffic categories, except for forestal products, have lost significant traffic share last year. So for that reason, it has been difficult, very difficult to say to port operators, well, let's try to reduce noise emissions, to tackle pollution, and possibly also to lower the total turnout of port terminals and port activities, because simply port activities have been reduced, have been severely affected by the outbreak of the pandemic. So the incentivized scheme we have planned in these projects wasn't anymore feasible, at least in this present situation, with this present economic recession. And we were obliged as a consequence to rethink our engagement, our activities in the Life Anchor project. So in accordance with the project coordinator and the other project, of course, partners, we thought that a good solution to still perform an activity, a task which can be significant also for other seaports in Europe, was to have a simulation of the effect of the introduction of these figures of merit within the port. So rather than the incentivization scheme, the incentives in our concessions regulation here in the Port of Livorno, we tend to have this study, this simulation, and to show how figures of merit can positively contribute to lower noise emissions in the future. So briefly, it would make sense now to introduce to all of you the figures of merit, so the earth of our contribution in this project. Figures of merit are basically interventions that a seaport operator can put in place here, so in the port or in connection with the port activities. And these figures of merit are strictly linked to the performance of port operations. So in this slide, you can see the intervention, the activity that port operator can perform, how we can determine it, so how we can effectively monitor also heat, and of course the impact of this figure of merits of this intervention on noise level. And brief explanation also to someone that perhaps does not know in detail the project. We didn't plan an acoustic noise mapping for the Life Anchor project because we developed it in the framework of other European funded projects, notably Monacumen project. So we didn't need to carry out this activity in Life Anchor, and another project so provided the port with an updated noise mapping of current port activities. This activity, so this noise mapping provided by the above mentioned, the already mentioned Monacumen project was somehow good news for us because it has been the background information for developing the simulation on figures of merit that I mentioned before. Without, of course, an updated noise mapping, noise information on so that noise sources within port, noise levels made by different activities, including, of course, transport and railway operations, ships, and so on. It wouldn't have been possible to have the study on simulating the impact of figures of merit. So this background information has provided very useful, has been very useful to carry out this alternative solution in our Life Anchor project. So in this slide, I briefly show you the acoustic mapping that has been already made available. In this slide, you can also see better how close to the city center are some port operations, some port activities at least. This is the port of Livorno. And in the left side of this image, this picture, there is the passenger port, the passengers port, whereas in the upper side of the map, it is located the freight cargo port with the planned expansion through land reclamation, which is called the Darsen Europa project. So to go on with my presentation, this alternative solution, this simulation study, will be achieved by end April 2021. So in roughly in 2 months' time, what we are going to have with this simulation. So a simulation shift of port handling from this propulsion so this powered equipment, reach stakers, gantry cranes, and so on, to electric propulsion. So for at least 3 port terminals, we will have a simulation of how noise levels can be lowered if port terminals will be equipped only with electric powered means. As I said, reach stakers, gantry cranes, and other yard equipment. Another information we are going to also simulate to have is the berthing of ship with the electrification of keys. So we are simulating how lower can be the noise made by ships berthed in the port if these ships, at least within the port, are powered with supply of electricity. It is an important information for us because the Port Authority is planning also to equip port keys, port berths with cold ironing. So in our port development planning, which should also be partially, at least, financed by the European Union, in future years, port berths should have this cold ironing, so the chance to provide electricity directly to ship's berth. With noise, with the Anchor Life project, we will have also the information on how noise can be positively affected, lowered by this intervention. The third point was one key point, let's say, of our figures of merit. So the reduction of handling speed of goods as a result of trying to reduce acoustic emissions made by port terminals. As I said before, this is a rather, let's say, hypothetical assessment. Unfortunately, in this period, this year and in coming future, as far as we know, handling levels, total port through output will be significantly lower than last year, than beginning 2020. So it's straightforward that port terminals presently are not willing to reduce speed of handling goods. And finally, the last simulation, the last part we are going to assess is the realization, the physical realization of 5 acoustic mitigation intervention within port boundaries. So our idea is also to check how 5 intervention like dunes, self-absorbing asphalt and barriers can nonetheless contribute to reduce noise pollution made by the port. Taking into account the present layout of our port, we guess that these 5 projected acoustic mitigation intervention will be essentially sound-absorbing asphalts. There is not so much space left for dunes, so basically the port cannot build up dunes to tackle to reduce noise emissions. So this study at least will provide project partners and potential other seaports interested in developing figures of merit with a background information on how these figures of merit can be effective in reducing this issue for ports. Of course, the Port Authority is willing, nonetheless, to incentivize port operators in having a more sustainable attitude, behavior, and so that to effectively plan and reduce pollutions in general made by port activities. As Giuseppe said in the introduction, the Port Authority is also working on the awareness raising for the Life Anchor project, which is an essential part of our action, especially in this coming months, which will lead to the end, to the achievement of our project. So next week, on Thursday, the 18th February, we will have a dedicated event on EU noise projects. So our idea is to have a network of several EU-funded projects which have worked on, which are working still nowadays in solving this problem, this issue of noise levels made by ports and transport sector as a whole. In this virtual event, which is organized, as said, by the Interreg Italy-France Maritime Triplo, also Life Anchor project has been invited to participate and to show and present its results. We think that this kind of networking of activity is very useful because at least it creates a panel, an audience of professionals, of experts that are already engaged in this issue and can share information about other current European projects and disseminate, of course, the results achieved by Life Anchor project. For instance, some of the projects that have been mentioned before, like Report project, have been invited. So this is an important chance, an important opportunity to widely disseminate our project to these people. And of course, we are willing also to involve local, regional, let's say, stakeholders, because it is also important that local stakeholders are aware of the activities we are performing with the Life Anchor. In this period, with the pandemic outbreak, unfortunately, we cannot have these activities physical in presence, but at least this virtual meeting and the other future meetings we will have can establish a contact and network with the local stakeholders as well. So we are planning to reach the target of our stakeholders platform engagement we had at the very beginning of the project, and to contribute to the awareness raising on the importance of noise pollution made by seaports. So it's all from my side. I thank you very much for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Riccardo. I would focus on this issue about the figures merit, what we are going to do with the figures merit. In fact, in the original version of the proposal funded by the European Commission, we were going to implement the figures of merit with without a specific idea about the effectiveness of this noise mitigation measures. So the COVID is allowing now to achieve a knowledge, a more in-depth knowledge about the effectiveness in terms of the noise reductions levels. In terms of decibel, we can go down to with this noise reductions methods. So we are going to do a good job. I think we are going to do a good job, and it is an opportunity to focus on this figure of merit in the fields or in the field of noise pollution. I think we are going to continue this webinar with the presentation of Simona Repetto from Ingenia that will talk about the activities she's going to do about the project in terms of quality and supervising of the activities.
Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm Simona Repetto from Ingenia SRL, that is a spin-off of University of Genova. And I show you briefly which are the action we are involved in. The main one, it was one of the first activities of the A 1.3 that involved us in March 2019 when we delivered the information KPIs inventory that we still use also in action C1 when we monitoring the project, so the information KPIs for the project. And we also are involved with the technical part in action B1, B2, and also for B3, as already talked about Engineer Di Meglio and also Dr. Bustillo Galvez. So I'm going faster with this part. Also for the action B3, we made the review of the deliverable we already saw in the presentation of Engineer Schiavoni. And then we focused with the action C1, that is about the monitoring part. It was the very first activity we faced in the Anchor Life project, that is about the definition of a quality plan that affect everything, I mean, in the project, from templates for deliverables, for presentation, and so on, and also for the organization of events and etc. And then we continue to use that part in these activities also for the review of the report of on the technical progress of the project made by CIRIAP in June 2019. And also we continued with the part of the project, the progress report project. So we continue to use, we continue to use the performance indicator we defined in precedent preview action, and then use them to have a sort of a checklist about our KPIs and their results. That part, of course, were affected also for the COVID-19 emergency, because we provide a lot of I mean, KPIs, more progress part that are referred also to some action that we foresee to have in presence. So the meeting for the project. So at the moment we skipped the meeting in Patras, for example. So we have some lower results than we expected to have. So you can see that part that is referred to the first progress report. Then we can skip to the mid-term report, that it was the main part. And of course, we also experimented some little issues related, for example, to the website and also the participation, for example, to conferences, because one of the main part of our project, of Anchor Life project, is focused on the participation at EU conferences and to have a sort of dissemination of the project and all the activities made in the project. So, for example, just the, as you can see with the pointer, as a number of workshop, just the first one was done in Melilla, and already and has already said Giuseppe Marsico, we tried to facing with the pandemic emergency with webinar, for example, as we are doing right now. And you can see some other events that and progress report that we achieved, and some other that are not applicable at the moment. Anyway, this part, I guess, it will be on the website, on the Anchor Life website, so you can see them more with more information. And then I focused with some other actions where Ingenia were involved, and it was for the action D1.1 that it was the review of the Anchor Life website made from ISPRA, and also for the action D1.2. We tried to have a network with other EU-funded projects. For example, Ingenia participate at the third comitato of pilotaggio of the Smartport project. And then you can see in the next slide some photos, some pictures. And then the replication plan and the result transfer that I will talk about later. As you can see, it was in October 2019, the participation in Genova at this meeting for the Smartport project. That is it also is related to noise in port areas, has Anchor Life. This slide, it's focused for the action D1.3, that is about the replication plan and the result transfer. And we tried to focus on the objectives for the replication activities that you can see here. So identify the full potential of replication on harbor level, because of course every actions we are going to do or we already doing in our ports, so in Livorno, Melilla and Patras, are aimed to be transferred, so in other ports, so in different at different harbor level, because we tried to design a small port, a medium port and a large port with different characteristics. So the one, for example, Melilla with is its expansion, of course, but with different level and a different nature also for the port. So the commercial one, the touristics, or with the ferries and so on. So trying also to provide a scheme to understand what application, what are the needs for a low noise port. And also we tried with the replication activities also to support the related local stakeholder engagement, and also the political and the technical capacity of development for a knowledge transfer, because we have to keep in our mind that the political part is a big part, a big decisional part. So we have to focus also on this part, and also identify, of course, and select the actions needed to replicate the anchor life experience in the other ports area. And you can see also the replication approach that include, of course, as I already said, the support related to the local stakeholder engagement, and also you can see the whole part of the replication approach with the definition also of the actions, the key actions needed to implement and replicate the solution we try to offer, to implement, based, of course, on a port level, on that port level. So it's like a design for that specific port, and also define a replication plan for the solution. So of course, keeping in our mind also the harbor priorities, so the different situation from one port areas to another one. And we define also that part that is showing, I mean, the anchor life harbor and the follower cities, the follower harbor. And of course, we have a part, the common part that is made by the replication activities for low noise ports. And of course, we need to have a low noise port vision, an integrated approaches, and also a good practices and lessons learned from Anchor Life to be implemented also in that ports. Then we participated also in action E1, that is about the project management. So you can see there all the appointment, the datas we participated from of course the kickoff meeting, and then the first monitoring visit, the first intermediate meeting in Melilla, and then so on the participation at the second monitoring visit, and of course this webinar. And then you can see all of us in Melilla when we visit also the port areas, and when we made our first workshop. So we can, everyone of us, of course, wants to meet everyone else in presence, but for this moment we are going only online. So for me, from me, and from Ingenia, it's all. So thanks for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simona, for this useful presentation about the quality framework and the management of the project. Yes, we would like to meet again, and we should have met in the last year, but the COVID. Because of the COVID, we couldn't, and we are going to transfer all the meeting in presence into webinar meetings, and I think Kostadinos joined us, and I think he's going to talk about the Smartport noise monitoring system. And please, Kostadinos, talk about some news about this very important matter on noise management of the port noise.
Okay, good morning. I would like to express my apologies for to be connected later, but there was a problem with my connection, and now I am connected through mobile, my telephone. I heard the last presentation. I would like transfer our situation actually. The most important point is that the implementation of B2 action, design of a smart port noise monitoring system, is already launched, started from last December. We purchased 3 complete noise measurement stations of first class, and we already made in the month of January was the first series of measurement, because the second was made by the equipment of our sound expert, but the last measurement, the third measurement in January, was made by own equipment, and the results what was elaborated and managed by us with the software provided by the company of equipment. I can see that we didn't note until now important environmental pollution, sound pollution in port area, as you know, the traffic caused by COVID-19 description by the ports through Greece, Italy, etc. restrictions, and the traffic is very low. So I think that next month, and especially after May, that we hope that the traffic will return in a normal situation. We could report the real noise levels in a port area. Anyway, it's very important that we have already 3 complete series of measurements, and we have also the relevant reports, and there is a close collaboration with the responsibles of Port Authority, especially the Department of Environmental Management, in order to focus the result in the right decision and interventions. Now, next, in the end of this month, we will start to elaborate these noise measurement results. Our environmental expert, in order to mapping the more noise polluted points of port area, and to go on with this action. Another important point is that as concerning the dissemination of the project procedure and results, we made in January and last week, 1st of February, 2 articles in the local sites, 2 articles with some description of the project and the first results from the sound measurements. And certainly we are waiting to what to do about the dissemination event that was made scheduled to be done in Patras. This is an item to discuss all together. This is important because affect also the budget of our project. As for the organization, we have an important amount. This all I will send to Giuseppe my presentation, and with photographical documentation about the measurements. And thank you for the organization of this webinar. I am available to any question to answer. Thank you very much.
Konstantinos, we don't have questions. If you want to, you could add something to your presentation.
My presentation was focused especially in the action B2, the implementation of the smart noise system in Patra support area. Practically, the work made by us, the permanent staff and the additional staff, the sound expert, last 5 months from September to now. Show the method through we selected the points to install this sound equipments, and after that the technical elaboration of the results taking from the equipment. This is the most of my presentations.
Okay, thank you very much, Konstantinos. We finished the presentation, and I would thank you all the partners of this project for their invaluable contribution, also in this difficult period of pandemic. Last year was very hard. We organized also the second monitoring visit, that is the main focus of this webinar. This webinar is focused on the outcomes we showed to the European Commission last year, even in that very hard period we were going through, and we are now also too. And I would remind the next webinars we are going to do. The intermediate meeting in Patras between March and April 2021. The intermediate meeting in Livorno. Intermediate meeting in Livorno maybe before this summer, and other thematic webinars about figures of merit, Smartport noise monitoring system and guidelines, scheduled in May, June, November, and maybe January and February, if the Commission will allow us to extend the deadline of this project because of the difficulties we had to face last year, and that we have to and we had to ask an extension of the deadline. The next webinars will take place between March and April 2021. I don't know if anyone wants to add anything about the presentations. Some partners.
No, Giuseppe, just want to clarify one thing. When you mean an intermediate meeting or whatever to be held on Livorno or in Patras, you always mean webinars, not physical meetings, right?
Yes, they were considered as meeting in presence in the proposal, but I think given the situation we are going through, it will be held mostly via webinar.
Okay, and one more thing. Is there any news about the idea of asking for a longer period to finish the project. I don't know what is the connection now between the European Commissions and us. If there is an idea of the length of the request.
We are working on the amendment to the proposal, to the grant agreement. We didn't have any problems and issues from the Commission. So in this year, in these days, we are in connection with the Commission to work to organize how to amend their grant agreement. I think there is no problem anyway.
Yes, but which is our idea? The length of the amendment?
The length,
6 months, 1 year.
6 months. 6 months. 6 months.
Do we think that is enough with 6 months? I talked to all the partners. May we think of something more even, just to share the ideas?
Yes, I think that maybe it will be useful to ask for a longer time, just to be sure that then at least 6 months were considered. So maybe, I don't know, 9 or more, or 1 year, 20.
Yes, we could talk about. I haven't asked a precise period length the Commission. I talk about at least 6 months in the midterm report, but we can talk about these issues in the next steering committee meeting that we are going to hold in the next weeks.
Yes, because okay, 6 months is the minimum, of course, but I don't know if the other partners have some problems if we ask for 1 year more.
Okay.
I say 1 year because we can have more time, for example, to develop the figure of merits, to see what happens in Padras when we see how it works, the smart monitoring systems, or Melilla, what happens when the traffic is going on. So if it's my proposal, of course, to discuss. Perhaps we can check if everybody is okay to extend for 1 year the length of the project, and perhaps in 2022 we can meet personally, hopefully, if COVID has finished. But it's on the discussion. It's an open discussion, of course.
I would like to add that looking at the evolution of the work with Samuele and the results we are achieving in the methodology for producing the noise mapping, I see really possibilities to have to introduce this chapter in the methodology that Port of Spain use in the economic evaluation of investment in ports. But for this, we need more time to explain the possibility in the port system, to maybe work with someone there in ports, or how to include this, how to measure the economic impact of noise and let it play with other impacts of the port activity. And for us, we think that regarding that I think that there is a possibility of moving some budget from the travel part to maybe find some help in Spain to really do this connection in between the Spanish methodology for port impact with the results of the project. And I think that there is a possibility, very clear possibility, to include this, and the port system may be sensible to include this and see this as an achievement. But of course, we need more time because now we are only reconstructing, and this is I see this. There is a reason, and this maybe a very good, maybe that the Commission sees this as a good achievement of the project. I don't know. That's my idea.
I get that this we have already almost already finished the technical part of the project, but due to COVID-11, we need more time to disseminate in an effective way what we achieved. So maybe it's correct to ask for more than 6 months, given that we don't have any idea what we are facing in the next months, in the next year. It's okay. Okay, if do you have any matters to focus on? No. Okay. Thank you very much to all. Thank you very much to the partnership, to Sabrina Panico and Attilio for the invaluable work of organization. And see you soon to the next webinar of Anchor Life. Keep in touch to our website, anchorlife.eu, and on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hello, good morning.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Good morning,
Bye.
all.
Bye.